Work is basically a form of slavery because Earth is, after all, a prison planet. And so through your job, the government, which is actually just a corporation.
By the way, governments are corporations, if people don't know that.
Takes some of your hard-earned money and uses it to bail out banks and fund wars that end up killing innocent people you've never met. They call it taxes. You might be against wars personally, but it turns out that doesn't matter because your tax money funds wars. I think this is part of why J. Krishnamurti, in answer to somebody's question about work, said,
"We are so conditioned to this idea that we must work and create a structure of a society that demands that you work from morning till night. The speaker refuses to enter that rat race. It isn't that he has got certain gifts or that somebody will look after him, but he refuses to enter that. I wouldn't go for a single day from 9 to 5 for anybody, for anything. I might die, but I wouldn't do that. In the same way, I wouldn't kill another human being, whatever the circumstances.
Emile Cioran also once wrote, "Men generally work too much to be themselves. Work is a curse which man has turned into pleasure. To work for work's sake, to enjoy a fruitless endeavor, to imagine that you can fulfill yourself through assiduous labor, all that is disgusting and incomprehensible. Permanent and uninterrupted work dulls and trivializes and depersonalizes. Work displaces men's center of interest from the subjective to the objective realm of things. In consequence, man no longer takes an interest in his own destiny, but focuses on facts and things. That each of us must have a career, must enter upon a certain form of life which basically doesn't suit us, illustrates work's tendency to dull the spirit. Man sees work as beneficial to his being, but his fervor reveals his penchant for evil. In work, man forgets himself, yet his forgetfulness is not simple and naive, but rather akin to stupidity. Through work, man is moved from subject to object. In other words, he has become a deficient animal who has betrayed his origins. Instead of living for himself, not selfishly but growing spiritually, man has become the wretched, impotent slave of external reality. Where have they all gone? Ecstasy, vision, exaltation. Why not abandon this futile work and begin anew without repeating the same wasteful mistake? Is subjective consciousness of eternity not enough? It is the feeling of eternity that the frenetic activity and trepidation of work has destroyed in us. Work is the negation of eternity. The more goods we acquire in the temporal realm, the more intense our external work, the less accessible and farther removed is eternity. Hence the limited perspective of active and energetic people, the banality of their thought and actions. I am not contrasting work to either passive contemplation or vague dreaminess, but to an unrealizable transfiguration. Nevertheless, I prefer an intelligent and observant laziness to intolerant, terrorizing activity. To awaken the modern world, one must praise laziness. The lazy man has an infinitely keener perception of metaphysical reality than the active one. I think he was, of course, correct about everything he said, especially about work and laziness. If more people were lazy, the world would not be the way it is with all the violence, because lazy people do not bother anyone. If Hitler, for example, had been lazy, millions of lives could have been spared. The laziness I'm talking about here, though, isn't necessarily what you might think. It's more like observant laziness. In relation to laziness, Osho once said, "There are two dangers I have talked about. One is of egoism, another is of laziness. And remember, if you have to fall into any trap, the trap of laziness is better than the trap of egoism. That is more dangerous because the lazy person has never done anything wrong. A lazy person cannot and will not do any good, okay, but he will never do any wrong either. He will not bother to kill anybody, to torture anybody, to create concentration camps, to go to war. He will not bother. He says, why, when one can rest? A lazy person is not naturally a danger. The only thing that he may miss may be his own spiritual growth, but he will not interfere with anybody else's growth. He will not be an interference. I think as long as most people are unconscious, the only choices humanity collectively has are either laziness or the trap of egoism. And at the moment, and for most of recorded human history, the trap of egoism has been the trap humanity is in, which is why the world is the way it is. But of course, like Osho said, if you're conscious enough, it's best to avoid both and to find a balance between being and doing. In the world of being, doing is not needed, so no effort is needed. So the Zen master says, sitting quietly, doing nothing, the grass grows by itself. So it's good to find time to do nothing and just enjoy doing nothing. It's simple, but it may look difficult. Osho says it looks difficult because of you, otherwise it's simple. So whenever you can find time, just close your eyes and do nothing. And soon you will have the taste of what's called the flavorless. You will enter a different kind of existence where Buddha, Lao Tzu, and other awakened beings live. In the words of Lao Tzu, accomplish do nothing, attend to no affairs, taste the flavorless. Thanks for watching. If you found any value in this video, please donate to support my work. I would really appreciate it. If you found no value in it, then it makes sense that you shouldn't donate.